I say, so we talked about that specifically in Olam Hazeh, in this world, there is a sense of mitziuse miatzmuse, that a person is an entity independent by himself, which is really a reflection on the essence of Hashem, because the only one who really is mitziuse miatzmuse, whose existence comes from themselves, is only the Atzmus, is only Hashem himself. Since that sense is also felt over here, that means that the manifestation of the essence of Hashem is Dafke in this world. And he's going to continue to say, and where is that manifestation in Neshamas Yisrael, in the Jewish soul? By the Jewish soul, that comes out in a way that only by the Yid, as he's going to explain. Hey, in a mitas ha'inyan, the true idea, sheyesh hanivra amitis mitziusei hu yesh ha'amiti, that the created entity, the created yesh, his true existence, hu yesh ha'amiti, is the true entity, which is Atzmusa Yisbarech, the blessed Atzmus. Koi al neshamas Yisrael kimoi shehem lamato. This goes and refers to the Jewish souls the way they are here below. Shahadei dafke aleihem shayich loimar hatoyar diyesh, because it's specifically of them, you can describe them as a yesh. They are here. They're an entity. They're a yesh. Kehem b'bchinas mitzias, because they are in a level of being found. They're here. They're an entity. As opposed to the nations of the world, einom b'bchinas mitzius. They are not in the level of being found in a entity. They're not really here because independently as an entity, ki kol inyonom hurak ma shehem tefelim lenishamas Yisrael, because the entire idea of the Umas Ha'olam, of the nations of the world, is the fact that they are secondary to the Jewish souls. Kemevur become a melukotim is explained elsewhere. So we can't say that what the Maimer talks about, that the created being are really the Yeshua Hamiti, talking about Umas Ha'olam, because they're not an entity. The real entity is only Neshamas Yisrael. Masha Oimrim. This that we say, that the created entity is the true entity, relates to Hashem. Koi al Neshamas Yisrael lemato. This refers to the Jewish souls over here below. And we're saying sheshorsham, that they are rooted be'atzmusa yisbarach, in the blessed atzmus. That's the source of neshamas Yisrael. So why are we singling out neshamas Yisrael versus all creations? Because all creations come from Hashem's true existence. Everything comes from Hashem. Umasha Emrim. ואף שכל הנמצאים לא נמצאו אלא מאמיתת מוצא. Although that all things found, meaning everything that was created, they were not created but from the true being, the true entity of the Atzmus of Hashem. Zehu Yisoid, that's the beginning of the Rambam, which starts with the words that this is Yisoid HaYisoidis. This is the foundation of all foundations. And this is the pillar of all the wisdom. So why are we saying that the Neshamas Yisrael specifically are the ones who are the real yesh associated with the yesh amiti, when everything comes from the yesh amiti? Because so notwithstanding that, haneshames hem chelek elokah mimal mamash, the souls are a part of Hashem, of above mamash. They are part of godliness. V'yedua Toiras Habal Shem Tov, that is said only about neshamas. That's not said about any of the other creations. And v'yedua Toiras Habal Shem Tov, it's known, the teaching of the Baal Shem Tov, she'ato toifes b'miktsas min ha'etzem ato toifes b'kuloi, that when you grab hold in a part of Esem, then you are actually grabbing hold in all of it, because in the essence, you can't separate. If you grab hold in the part of it, you're holding the whole thing. The same thing is the neshama being a part of Elokah, Mimal. It's a part of the essence of Hashem. So this is the whole Hashem basically is connected to this neshama. Ubezeh yuvan gamzeh, knowing this, that the Yid is a part of Hashem mamish, we also can understand also this part, this point, shebihiyois haneshama lemato, that when the soul is below, Hine Aid, so we say that a Jew nit ervil or nit erken does not want and is not able sein abgeris von Göttlichkeit to be torn away from godliness, God forbid. Why is that? Because he is really a part of godliness right here in this world. Kigam kimoi shehu nimtzo lemato, because also as the neshama finds itself below harei ba'amitis mitziusoi, so still in the true existence nirgash boi kaviyochel, is, so to speak, you can feel, the neshama feels in itself amitis hametzias, the atzmus is barach, the true entity of the essence and mahus of Hashem is blessed. Shemitziusehu me'atzmusei, whose existence comes from himself, from his atzmus. And he is not a result, he's not an effect from some cause that came before him, God forbid. Hashem, there's nothing before Hashem that causes Hashem, but Hashem's existence from himself. And that's why that idea comes down, dressed up into the neshama, as the neshama is dressed up in the world. Well, v'zehu vayichtav Moshe es moitzoeihem lemaaseihem ve'ele maasseihem lemoitzoeihem. So brought down the pasuk in Maaseh that Moshe wrote down both it says Moitzaehem, that's where they come from. He was mamshich into the journey, into the neshama as it comes down below, to give the neshama the power ve'ela mas'ehem, that through their journey, the yerida tzerech aliyah lemoitzaehem, to go back to their source. Moshe Rabbeinu himshich bechinas atzmusei muhusei yizborach. That Moshe Rabbeinu draw down the level of his atzmus and muhus moitzaehem b'haneshama lemata, in the neshama below, in the maseh. So Moshe was mamshech that ba'al yidei zeh, and through this nase achar kach aliyas haneshama. Moshe Rabbeinu gave them the powers through this. Later on, he makes up the elevation of the soul, the way back from the journey back to the source, moitzaehem, where they come from. As explained at length in the mamorim for the Yom HaHilul of Yud Shvat, and the Rebbe points out over here that this is the Maimer Basi Legani, a Toshin Yud, and that chapter that the Rebbe brings quotes now fits for this year, which is Toshin Lamed, when the Rebbe was giving this Maimer on Erev Shabbos before Yud Shvat, which was the 20th year, which is each year a perek. So this was the 20th perek. So over there, ubefrat beperek ha'esrim shaboy, especially in the 20th chapter, be'inyan yeridas haneshama, with regards to the matter of the descent of the soul. The lihiyois shahaneshama yordo lemato mato, since the soul descended below beguf v'nefesh hativis, into a body, and to the natural soul lochein. So the neshama is faced with all of the challenges that are brought about from the body and the natural soul, in which it dresses up when it comes down into this world. So therefore, lochein, bichdei shetuchal lamed bechol hanisyonos, in order for it to be able to withstand all kinds of tests, utamalish lichuso v'tafkido, and for her to fulfill its mission and its job that it needs to fulfill. How could you overcome the challenges, the nisyones, to fulfill your mission? You need to come on to the measure, to that midah, to that trait of nitzochen, of victory, level of nitzochen netzach. Midas hanitzochen, the measure of victory, of netzach, mevia hamshochas v'izgalus oitzer ha'elyon, that brings and draws down on the revelation of the supreme treasure, Shehu Gilui Pnimis V'Atzmos Ein Sof Baruch Hu, which is the revelation of the inner and the essence of the Ein Sof Baruch Hu, through the level of Nitzochen that you have to imply, reveals and brings down the essence of the Ein Sof, the Pnimis Ein Sof, to be able to overcome all the challenges. Not only are you able to stand strong with that Midas HaNitzochen, but more than that, you actually elevate That through the service of man, it sort of makes a elevation, so to speak, gam l'maylo, also above the person's avodah brings about also an elevation above. Okay, you do Toiras Hamagid. As it's known, the teaching of Harab Magid, of the Magid of Mezrich, the Pidush HaMishnah, he interprets the saying in the Mishnah, Da ma l'maylo mimoch. No, simply translated as know what is above you. So he translates it that da, you should know kol masha l'maylo, everything that takes place above. Bepartsufim usfires ha'elyonis, in the partsufim, the faces and the supreme spheres. Hakoilhu mimoch, everything is of you. Is mal happens mimoch. Shatolui ba'avodos ha'odom, that hinges on the work, on the service of the person. Ubeproti is yoser, that means the yid through his avodah over here impacts and is mamshich the inyanim l'maylo. And more specific, mavuer b'teirosei, it is explained in the teaching of the Magid of Mezrich that the Pasuk says, Pasuk, asay lecho shtei chatzoitzrois kesef, that the Eibishter says to Moshe, make for you these two trumpets of silver. This is a command. This was said, this verse talks about by Moshe Rabbeinu, the faithful shepherd. So what does it say? So the Magi teaches the word chatzoit suros, ushtei chatzoit suros, made up of the word half shapes. Make yourself two half shapes, which means that the work of Moshe, say l'chod mehemna, he makes up the other half of the shape. One half is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the other half is made up by Moshe, shal yidei avodos ha'odom lemato, through the service of the person below. Hadehu poil shlemas l'maylo kaviyochel, he, so to speak, impacts and makes it whole, so to speak. Shetiya tzura shlema, it should be a complete tzura. So the person through his avodah impacts and has an effect above to the extent that it makes shlemas, he gives it a whole partsuf through his avodah. Zayin. Before we said that the level that comes down, the seventh of the 13 attributes of mercy, and that goes down, that's the level of the ponim, and that comes down from the highest level to the lowest level. So b'hinei hamshochas b'chinas ve'emes, the bringing down the level of Hashem, Kilrach Chanu Erech Vayim Rav Chesed ve'emes, the tikkun of emes, which is tikkun hazayin, that's the seventh of the 13 tikkunim. Al yidei hatikkunei dikno, that comes down through the tikkunim, the strands, the hair of the beard. Ve'achar kach, and that comes from the level of keser, coming through the level of tikkunei dikno. The achar kach al yidei ha'eser sfiris da atzilus, and then as it descends further through the 10 spheres of atzilus, and then to the whole Seder HaHishtalshlus, and the whole order of the Ishtalshlus, ad le'olam hazeh hatach, until it comes to this lower world, she'ein tachtin limata mimenu, which there is nothing lower than it. So this is the bottom, this olam hazeh. So how do we mamshich this level from the level of the emes, which in amongst the 13 tikkunei dikna is the highest in the sense that it's the ponim, to bring it down all the ways to the lowest into this world? Hu al yidei haTorah, that comes through Torah. The Torah that we learn here in this world brings down this level of the emes, the tikkun hazayin, because Kamaimer Azal, as our sages of blessed memory say, that ein emes elo Torah, that what is truth? Truth is Torah. So this is the level of emes. V'hinei al haTorah nemar haloi koi dvorai koesh. About Torah, it says that my words, the words of Torah, are like fire. What does it mean they're like fire? The Dorshu Razal and our sages of blessed memory expounded that the comparison to fire is that ma eish einoi mekabel tuma. Fire cannot receive tumah. Fire does not become tumah. It does not become impure. Av divrei Torah einon mekablin tuma. Also, words of Torah do not receive impurity. So, which means that the words of Torah can never receive impurity. That means that as far and as low as it come down, it's compared to Eish, without being able to become tummy. That means the Torah extends in all places, also below. Not just this, that the Torah extends also below, but more than that, that even as the Torah is below, it's not diluted. It doesn't lose its potency. It remains as strong and potent as it was before. That even as it is below, the Torah stays as it is above. In a way that this is, my words is like fire. There's no tumah, and it's like before shazehu. It also stays below shazehu b'chinas emes. This is what we call it, the level of truth, because truth doesn't change. The Torah is truth. It doesn't change from before, from the higher level to the low level. What is the idea of emes? Emes, the Yerushalmi says, is made up of the three letters: Aleph, the first, Tov, the last, Mem, the middle, and it's all true from the beginning to the end. There's no change. What's the idea of emes as we find in Yerushalmi? Over there, he explains Pirush of the Yerushalmi explains, what does it mean when we say Chosomay shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu emes, God's seal, God's chesed is emes. So he explains the Yerushalmi, Aleph utchilas kol ha'ishis. Aleph is the beginning of all the letter. V'tov, and the letter Tov is the soif. Kol ha'ishis is the end of all the letters. Umem em tso isom. The mem is the middle of all the aleph base letters. Ve'ein bazeh shinuyim klal, and there is no change. That means emes shezehu inyan. And this is the idea what the pasuk says. Ani rishon, I'm in the beginning. That's the aleph. Bani achrein, that's the tough. Mibal odai, which is the middle. Without me, gam be'emtze isa ein elikim. There is no elikim. There's nothing besides me, and that's the emes, which is always from the beginning to the end. V'lochein, and therefore al yidei ha-Torah shehi emes, through Torah, which is the level of emes, which is true. Nimsheches bechinas ve'emes, we extend the level of ve'emes in the Yud Gimel Midas Harachamim, the Yud Gimel Tikkun Dikna, the Tikkun Zayin, the ve'emes, Tikkun Hazayim, brings it down Olam Hazeh Hatachtin Sheitachtin Lamata Meno, to this low world, this world, the lower world, that there is nothing lower than it. Ches. And this is the idea that Moshe writes down to the Rebbe brings it in now to the Ksivas, the writings of the Torah. This Moshe writes goes on Torah. The Inyan shall Moshe what is Moshe's Torah, as explained in Torah, Moshe is Torah. Moshe's main thing is the Torah. As we say, Moshe Kibel Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu received the Torah. V'nikras al Shemoi. We call the Torah Moshe's Torah, Kamesha Kosov, as the pasuk refers to when it talks to the Torah. It says Zichru Torah's Moshe Abdi. Remember the Torah of my servant Moshe. So the Torah is reference to Moshe. So that is Moshe Rabbeinu's main aspect is Torah. So Vayichtav Moshe. So Moshe Rabbeinu, whose inyan is Torah, he's Vayichtav, writes it down. He's Mamshich. Hinei al Yidei HaTorah Himshich B'chinazu V'emes. Through the Torah, he draw down this level of emes, the level Yud Gimel Tikkun Dikna, from the 13 strands of the beard, which is Yud Gimel Midas Harachamim, from the 13 attributes of mercy. Merotzin Ha'elyon Baruch Hu, which is from Hashem's will, from the level of Rotzin, Ad Lamata Mata, till below into this world, Ad Le'oifun the Ksiva, to the extent that he writes it down. We say Vayichtoy Moshe, he writes it down, which is B'diyoy ala klaf, take ink on parchment, a very physical, bringing the Torah down with ink on the parchment. B'hainu, and that is the Av Sheksivas Dvar Seichel B'chlal, even generally to write down an intellectual idea. And for sure, if you need to write down something as great, it's a tremendous descent to commit it to writing. Certainly, if you're talking about the wisdom of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's a big descent. And there needs to be many restrictions. Ad sheyumshach b'dyoy al hasefer, till you can bring it down with ink onto the parchment, which is the Chav Beis Oisiyes HaTorah, the 22 letters in the Torah. So that's a tremendous descent. Kimavur Betanya is explained in Tanya. And yet, notwithstanding the far Vayichtav Moshe, the fact that you have to write it down in Dyoy ala klaf, yet lo nishtane kan al yidei hamshachoso. Here, it did not change. By the Torah, it doesn't change through the fact that it comes down through this level of writing it down. This level of the Yud Rotzen Elyon, the Yud Gimel Tikkun Dikna, comes down ad le'olam hazeh hatachten, till this low world, she'ein tachton lemato mimenu, which there's nothing lower than it. V'zehu, and this is also the idea that the Rebbe mentioned before, Gam, this is also Vayichtem Moshe Nichlal L'das Meir. In Moshe's writing, according to the Meir, we also have Ein V'kosav Elo V'chosav, the opinion of Rabbi Meir, when it says V'kosav Lo Sefer Krisus, the Kasiva means the signatures. So, according to the Meir, it also includes the idea of the signing canal. What is the idea of the signing that we are talking about over here that comes down in the V'kosav? So he says, there are two ideas with regards what is the chasiba. Inyan ha'alef, the first idea of chosem is shehu nechtam al hadavar lebal yishuna, that it is signed on the matter, it can't change. When you sign it, means you can't make any corrections. That's the way it is. Which basically tells us that it's bechinas ani havaya lo yishanisi. That's the level of I, Hashem, have not changed. It comes through all the time. The inyan ze yeshnei gam bekol echad ve'echad mi Yisrael. And this idea also is that idea of not to change, to be consistent, and to connect with the level of Leishanisi every year. Zo mashakosu, because this is what the pasuk says. Ani havaya Leishanisi, I Hashem have not changed. Then it says, Va'atem b'nei Yaakov leichilisam, and you b'nei Yaakov have not been, have not ended, exist constantly. She'echad apirushim bazahu. So one of the interpretation is the Bekivan Shani Havaya Loishanisi. Since I Hashem have not changed, Lachain Kam Atem b'nei Yaakov lechilisam. So likewise, you b'nei Yaakov have not been finished. You're always there. So this is the idea that we have, the idea of non-change in ourselves. That's one idea of the sign, of the signature, of the chosem. What is the second idea in the signature? The loizu bilvad. Not just when we say a signature, she'enoi etzem ha'odom. So when you sign, this is not the person himself. That is only a name and a sign to the person. So when the person puts a seal down on something, he's basically approving it. It's not, he's not there, but it's a name. His name is on his seal that he signs, and it's a sign for the person. A name has no value, is not compared at all to the essence of the one who owns the name. Further, when you sign with a signet, with a seal, on the wax, now you signed it away, so it's separated and distinct from you. What is the example in the world? This would be the worlds of Bria Tzira Asiya. The Lab Iu V'chayoy V'garmoyu Chad B'hoim. By them, the Eberster's signature in Bria Tzira Asiya, since him and his life force, Hashem and the Oiris, and the Garmoy and the Caleb are not one behind in them. So there is a nifrad, there is a separation in the seal. Ubefrat olam ha'asiyah she'en lamata mimenu. And certainly when we talk about the world of Asiyah, it's nothing lower. It seems like that it's even separated. Behind. And this means shebechinas. So what does it mean together? Shebechinas abni havaya lo yishonisi. That the level of I Hashem did not change moitzoehem. That level of keser, the level of Yud Gimel Tikunei Dikla, the Rotzin, which is Inyan Ha'alev the Chosam, which is the first level of Chosam, that it doesn't change. Eternity is Nimshach V'nechtam Lamato Mato. This extends and it gets signed below into Maseim, into the level of Maseim. So by Yichtav, you bring down the Chosam, the eternity, even in the Maseim. V'chein Inyan Habeiz Shabachosam, and also so it comes down the mato, and the same thing is the second idea. I'll read this over here. Frat olam ha'asiyah she'en lamato mimenu. V'ashemchinas aniyah b'ayla shnei motzeihem inyan ha'alav d'chosam nimshach v'nechtam v'mato ma'aseihem v'chein inyan habesha b'chosam, and also the second idea in the chosam in which it is a separate. This is all written by Moshe, al yidei Moshe Rabbeinu Ra'imahemna, through Moshe Rabbeinu, who is the faithful shepherd. Test. This is the idea of the mitzvah of writing a Sefer Torah. About this, the Rebbe that Tzemach Tzedek writes that this is similar to the idea that Moshe wrote any time when you write a Sefer Torah, which is similar to the idea as Moshe writing. Now, as we said earlier, ki b'chol echad ve'echad miYisrael yeshna b'chinas Moshe sheba, in each and every one of the Jewish people exists a level of Moshe. The Moshe in you writes. The mitzvah of Sefer Torah writing is we have a Moshe in us, just like Moshe wrote, we have to write. Where do we see this idea that each one has a level of Moshe? Because when the pasuk says, now Yisrael, what does Hashem ask of you? Hashem asks you just to fear. That's what the pasuk says, to fear Hashem. That's the whole thing. So the Gemara asks on this the question, why is he saying, what does this is not a big deal? He is then fear of heaven something a small matter. And why are we saying all Hashem is asking you? It seems to be a pretty challenging, a big thing to fear Hashem. Especially the Torah doesn't just say Yiras Shamayim, but it also details many details, which seems pretty difficult to achieve. Until the Chazal, our sages of blessed memory, they expound further that what is al tikra ma elomeya, that what ma means. Don't say ma Hashem or what Hashem, but may Hashem ask for you 100. Shu tachlis Hashem 100 is the ultimate wholesomeness, because it's eser kol u'me'eser, 10 times 10, eser kul 10. So that's a pretty strong level. So as the Gemara asks, is this something small? Why are we saying that's a small thing? And also, in addition, as explained in many places, that there is 100 letters in this pasuk of Ata Yisrael, there's 100 letters. And this seems to be a pretty strong question, achievement to achieve that. So how come he says that's something small? So what does the Gemara answer in this question? Ata Yira Milsa Zutrusi, it's not small. In Legabe Moshe Milsa Zutrusi, relative to Moshe, this is a small thing. So what is it? How does it explain? Why is it small to a yid? So it means the mekivon shebekol echad ve'echad mi Yisrael yeshnu b'chinas Moshe. Since in every single one and one of the Jewish people there exists the level of Moshe, lachein yira yimilsa zutrasi etzel kol echad ve'echad. Therefore, the yira, the fear of Hashem, is like something small by everyone. But nevertheless, so what do we see in the bracket? The Rebbe explains we all have the level of Moshe. So just like we have a Yichtov Moshe, the pasuk says, so every Yid has the level of Moshe. Since by every Yid there is the level Moshe, that's Shaboy, that's in the Yid, and the person. That's why he has the ability to draw down through writing a Sefer Torah, b'chinas ve'emes, the level of ve'emes, k'moi shehu b'amitis hametzias, as it is in the true existence, the real emes, k'moi shekosu Rambam, as the Rambam writes, shehu levadei ha'emes, Hashem alone is the truth. Ve'ein la'achar emes k'amitos, there is nothing else that has like his truth. So you can bring down that level of emes, and to bring it down till low. In a way that the wisdom of the person lights up his face, so that the whole world can recognize by the person that he found a new Tosefta, and so you can see that everybody, that hamshacha, that the experience, it shines up the face, as we said, that the tikkun hazayin is the face, which and the nimshach gam b'ksiva, and it extends also in writing b'dyoy ala klaf, with the ink on the parchment. Shaklaf uklaf shel behemo bal chai. The parchment is a parchment that is from a animal, which is the level of bal chai. The living, and the ink nasimit semeach v'doimim, that is made out of growing and inanimate, that you mix it in and you make ink out of that. So you have the chaya and the doimim and the tzemeach. You have doimim, tzemeach, and chay. All this creates a whole Torah, till the last words of the Torah of Le'ena Kol Yisrael. And the Rebbe associates this now to the finishing of the Sefer Torah for the coming of Mashiach. We can say possibly, this is that my father-in-law, the Rebbe, the leader of our generation, the prince of our generation, he started writing the Sefer Torah. And we had the merit that we completed it, because that is when the Rebbe said the Maimer, when they completed the Sefer Torah on Yud Shvat before Tovshin Lamed, on that Friday before Yud Shvat Shabbos. So what is the connection that the Rebbe, previous Rebbe, started writing the Sefer Torah? Because our sages of blessed memory said, Moshe hu goyel rishon hu goyel achre, that Moshe is the first redeemer. He took us out of Mitzrayim, but Moshe is also the goyel achre, who will take us out of the end of Golus. Shalochein Shiloi. Therefore, Shiloi, when they say At ki yovoi Shiloi, Shiloi is referencing Mashiach, Shekoyi al Mashiach, that goes on Mashiach. Who begematria Moshe, that has the same numerical value. Shiloi is also the same numerical value as Moshe, which is 345, and because Shiloi is also Moshe. And then if you add the echad, which is 13 through to the 345, will be 358, which is the gematria, which is the numerical value of Mashiach, 358. As explained in the known talk given by my father-in-law, the Rebbe. The Hainu, that means, what does it mean? You're mitzarev the echad to shiloi shekasher mamshichim bechinas echad, when you draw down level of echad, which is, what is the echad? Sheyoyir ha'alef, that the aleph should be shining in the ches and the dalet, the aleph in the ches dalet, aluf shalolam. Aleph represents the master of the world, Behaches v'Hadalet. In the 8 and the 4, the 8 is Shem Zayin Rekim Oretz, the 7 heavens and the earth. That's the Ches, and the Dalet represents the Dalet Ruchas Ha'olam. So you're mamshich the Echad, u'ba'ofen golui, and in a revealed way, the Kamoisha ni nichtav kacha ni nikro, that you will also pronounce as it's written. You will also pronounce it, instead of just saying, substituting the name of Hashem. We don't say it as the Yud Kei Vav Kei is written. We say Hashem, but we don't say it written, but it will be in a revealed way. When it's pronounced as it's written, that is the revelation of Mashiach, when you bring down the Aleph Ches and Dal. And therefore, just like Moshe's idea was writing the Sefer Torah, Kinal Baruch, as I said earlier at length, that Moshe Rabbeinu was Mamshich, so we can say similarly is also Mashiach to write down and bring it down. And we can add to that the Hine, and that's the writing of the Rebbe for Mashiach Sefer Torah. The Hine, Mashiach Tzidkeinu Nikra Melech HaMashiach. Mashiach, our righteous Mashiach, is called King Mashiach. Moshe Kosov, as the pasuk states, V'avdi David Melech Aleim, my servant David will be a king over them. Sefer Torah Shal Melech Nemar, and with regards to the Sefer Torah that is of the king, it says, it shall be with him. The king reads in that special Sefer Torah that he writes, the Mishnah Sefer Torah writes for himself, is for him for all the days. And our sages of blessed memory expounded al pasuk. The pasuk says, remember the days you left Egypt, all the days of your life. What is it talking about? All the days. Which are all the days? That means in even the time of Mashiach. The first opinion is, if it would say just remember all the days of your life, that would mean the daytime. And when it says Kol means also the nighttime. But the Chachamim say, they say that Yimecha Yecha is Olam Hazeh, this is now, Kol Yimecha Yecha Lahavi L'Meisa Mashiach, to include the days of Mashiach, to remember then as well, Olam Hazeh, Olam Habo, this world and the world to come. So that's what we understand. Masha Nemar Boy. It says by the Melech, the Korah Boy Kol Yimei Chayav, all the days of his life, just like we're saying Kol Yimei Chayecha, that according to this, Kol Yomov is Sekoyigam al Yemeisa Mashiach, goes on the days of Mashiach. So this is all the connection with the Sefer Torah, with the writing, as it associated with Mashiach Tzidkenu. Yud v'hinei b'maise hare kvar siyamnu. In act, so the act of the conclusion, we already concluded Sefer Torah. That my father-in-law, the Rebbe, Sefer Torah Shel Mashiach, he referred to it as the Sefer Torah of Mashiach. It's only lacking time. In other words, it's there, it's ready, it's done, and it's just the time, because we need actually Mashiach to come. Very soon, Mashiach Tzidkenu will merit the coming of our righteous Mashiach. Let him come and redeem us, and lead us in an uplifted state to our land. And then there will be the revelation of the teaching of Mashiach. Even though that as well has been given to Moshe from Sinai, based Matan Torah, at the time Matan Torah, There won't be again Matan Torah. It was only once. So it's not the pshat that Mashiach's revelation will have again the giving of the Torah. Everything was already given in the time of Matan Torah. Is explained in many places. But Harei, but still be a revelation of the Torah of Mashiach. The Matan Torah, when the Torah was given, it was in a obscure way. But in the future to come, Mashiach will be the revelation of the teaching of Mashiach. Yishakeni min shikas piu, quoting from the pasuk, he will kiss me from the kisses of his mouth, which is the explanation, the revelation of the inner Torah. And how to prepare for that time when we'll actually have the Gilui Pnimis HaTorah Toyamel Chaim Zoch. We say Bechlal on Erev Shabbos, those who taste the food before Shabbos, from Shabbos, those who take Chaim Zoch, who merit life, Erev Shabbos Kodesh Achar Chatzois. And metaphorically, also in the years, there's 6,000 years, and Erev Shabbos is after this the 500 years in the 6,000. That's called already the Erev Shabbos Kodesh. Achar Chatzois, after midday, the Hashita Alfishnin, the Haba Alma, in the 6,000 years that the world exists, it's after, it's already Erev Shabbos. That is when my father-in-law was at that time. And Erev Shabbos Achatzois La'achrei Gilui HaArizal, after the revelation of the Arizal, and then the revelation of the Baal Shem Tov Magid, and then the revelation of the Alter Rebbe, and those who fill their places until the Rebbe, my father-in-law, the Rebbe, this all is the preparation and the introduction and the vessel mamish that very soon each and every one will complete their matters they need to do. Niske, we will merit that it should literally, actuality, be revealed. The power that was given by my father-in-law, the Rebbe, Nisidereinu, the leader of our generation, just like Vayichteg Moshe, that Moshe writes, gives the koyach, and his hope and his wishes should become fulfilled. That with this Sefer Torah, will go out to greet the face of our righteous Mashiach, with joy and with gladness of hearts, and the eternal joy will be on their heads, and in a way, that with our youth and with our elders, with our sons, and our daughters, as the pasuk says, very soon, and also B'Loshen Targum, using the Loshen of the translation, Ba'agola Didan, quickly nowadays, which is even stronger and more than the Hebrew language. And this should happen literally, B'Korev Mamish Ba'agola Didan.